touch button. I don't see a difference. Same. They genuinely look the same. It's the same bastard in fucking. Look, I shouldn't have sworn so soon. Anyway, hey up everybody. Hey up nobody, because nobody's watching the fucking stream yet. Hey up nobody. My name's Joshua Morrison, director of Johnny Moz's Lessons in Confidence, right? Today, what was that? Did my phone buzz? It buzzed to tell me that I'm live. Got it. Got it. Hello, individual. Welcome to the stream where we will be talking about out there, right? The UK, Great Britain, and Northern Ireland, and the Greater Territories, and the UK as a whole, as a nationality, as a people, right? When we talking about the future, right? Because think about this. We're not just thinking about the next election, 2029, right? Then what's the election after that? 2034? Say there's a bit of a stir, you know, say there's some weird, because you know how like Liz Truss, there was like 3 elections in a year or whatever, it was mental, right? We just couldn't move for elections. And then 2017, 2018, 2019, just election after election after election. So say 2029 comes around, right? And we have the same kind of thing. Don't you tell me to update my phone. I'm noticing I'm a little bit behind. I think it is just you in this chat for now. I should maybe wait before I start on the big rants, but I just got straight into it apparently. Yeah, so I guess I'll stop for now while we let a few people come in and that kind of thing. We're not going to go for too long. I don't feel like doing this for more than I don't know. I'm not going for more than half an hour. No, don't hide the chat, you fucking idiot. No, I didn't want to hide the chat. I wanted to make it hidden. I wanted to make it available to all. Thank you. There we go. Right. As I was saying, right, the future of the UK, Europe, and North America is utter social collapse. From Athos Gomez Fonseca. I don't know how you pronounce that. So, would you be able to elaborate on social collapse and what that looks like? Does that mean we don't have a chat anymore? Or like I don't go to the pub and like talk to some of the people that were, go to the pub. I go down to the pub, right, and there's always this sort of fat guy who's always sat there drinking J2O, right? He's a lovely guy, right? Probably like 40, right? We get on, well, we don't get on like a house on fire, but we've had friendly chats, you know? He's nice, he's a nice fella. In this utter social collapse, is he going to be there? So, like, I rode my bike 8 miles to work. Johnny, please elaborate on how bicycles are fitted. I don't know what that means. From right bros to impact on women's rights, bicycles played the major role, to be honest. K, thanks. I get the sense you're not liking what I'm saying, but I have no idea what your point means. It's fine that you disagree with whatever I've said so far, but I just have no idea what you mean. Like, because you're parodying what I'm saying about the questioning social collapse, right? That's kind of the idea. But my point is, I just want to know what social collapse looks like, because people have been saying like that we're already in a social collapse, and yet I go out and I see people chatting all over the street. I stop people in the street and go, "Oh, how you doing?" And we have a nice little chat. You know, when I go down to the supermarket, I say, "Oh, how you doing?" You know, that kind of thing. But that sort of stuff will always carry on, right? Like even if it gets replaced by delivery guys, you get your Ocado vans or whatever if you're middle class, right? And then your delivery driver comes along. You sort of say, "Oh, how you doing?" Even though they're kind of wanting to get away from you because they've got a quota to reach, right? You're still having that chat with them, right? My neighbors are still a pain in the ass, but they still stop me in the street and say, "How you doing? You all right?" You know, I know people, right? Oh, Oh no, fair enough, Skyclad. I just kind of, because I know what it sounds like, that I'm sort of doing that, ooh, how do you define everything sort of thing, and trying to draw. But I like doing that. I like bringing things back to basics. And because we take so many conclusions for granted, right? And then we just walk around with these assumed conclusions. It's nice to just strip them back and re-ask a question that should be obvious. Because you know when people like they ask a question, it's a stupid question, you know the answer is obvious. If the answer is obvious and it's really easy to give the answer, why are people annoyed at you for asking the question if it's so easy to come up with the answer? It's not like you've taken anything out of them. It's not like it's expended any energy to give them this easy answer. So I don't understand why people get annoyed at stuff like that. Because I've noticed that you ask a simple question, like just for the sake of maybe clarification, or so that we know that we're on the same, level where we're in agreement, and people get annoyed at you. And I think that's a universal thing. People always get that. It's like when you ask for someone to explain something that's really simple, and they don't like the fact that they do that. Yeah, exactly. It's emotional semantics. So anyway, what I was talking about the social collapse, because I like to define things, and particularly social collapse is an interesting concept to me because it gets thrown around as if we all understand what that means, as if it's just like universally understood there's social collapse, right? And whether it's either going to happen or it isn't going to happen, right? There's never like degrees of social collapse, like it'll collapse a little bit, but the structure will still be there. Like you could plant a bomb underneath a building, right? So you can demolish the building. But say the bomb's not powerful enough, and so you only kind of weaken the foundations, but the building's kind of there. It's just kind of bent over a little bit. So there's loads of states of social decay that we could be in. That's another term, social decay. And it all comes down to, the internet, and it's all a feelings thing, really, more than like a proper understood concept. It's sort of, I feel like society is collapsing and social norms are like being lost, and I can't have a chat with people properly anymore, and all this sort of stuff. And it's interesting to define it because it's not that they're completely wrong, and it's not that they're completely right either. I think because I mean, admittedly, I don't have a vast amount of experience because I can't be like, oh, in the 90s, people were like this. The 90s wasn't even that long ago, but I'm too young to know the 90s. But then, I have seen from sort of the 2010s into the 2020s that there's been very little in terms of some kind of breakdown in communication between the average person. There's this sort of political like divide, right? Where there's the left wing and the right wing, and they have their own spaces on the internet, and they don't, and their own little groups in real life and stuff. But at the end of the day, like I've got friends that are communists and friends that are right wing, and I get on with both. And most people in real life are not the stereotypes that get made out on the internet. Like I've made videos taking the piss out of right wingers, right? I know plenty of right wingers that are lovely people, right? That don't exemplify the ideals of alpha male bullshit or whatever. And similarly, there's left-wing people who are just normal, reasonable people that aren't like whatever the stereotype of left-wing people is now. Is it pronouns? I don't care. But it's just interesting that all of this stuff, it's wallpaper over the social fabric, which is still there at its core. It's just that maybe it's harder to see because we've got so much going on in our world right now in terms of you got 24-hour news, like literally, like you can. I went out with someone like 10 years ago, right? Who they would open up their phone first thing in the morning and they would go on Facebook, and on Facebook they would get like monkeys being tortured, like and shit like that, right? And like really nasty, cruel stuff. And they would walk around wondering why they're in a bad mood all the time. And I was like, listen, stop watching this garbage first thing in the morning, right? You can watch the garbage later when you're awake, when you've had a little bit of time to, because you're at your most vulnerable in the morning, aren't you? Like whenever I'm tired and shit like that in the morning, I always end up on the YouTube shorts watching fucking garbage. Usually it gives me loads of Andrew Tate bullshit. This is why I keep using Andrew Tate as an example, is because I see his shorts and I kind of like to take the piss out of them in my head. And I'm watching them thinking, how the fuck can anyone like this? This is the most idiotic shit ever, right? But at the end of the day, as far as the algorithm's concerned, I'm watching it. So it's going to give me more of it, right? When all I'm doing is hate watching it. In my opinion, I think quarantine has a lot to do with social collapse. See, I can't relate to that because I didn't have a lockdown. I didn't bother with it. I kept going out, seeing people. Because basically, if you're a filmmaker, you could do whatever the fuck you wanted. You remember in Canada, they had that thing, which was, there was a hairdressers which started filming their clients getting the haircuts, and they were able to just stay open for like a year while the Canadian government worked on legislation to get that sorted out. Right? The pandemic came around, and I was like, fuck, I can make an apocalypse movie. This is the perfect opportunity for it. No one's going out, right? So I started working on the apocalypse movie, and then by the time the apocalypse movie was like, by the time I was ready for production, I got my crew together, which was really easy because everyone was free, available and stuff. By the time I'd done that, everyone was out. Everyone realized that this wasn't going to be like tanks in the fucking street, some like big historical event. It was literally just a couple signs going, please stay inside. I was like, nah, fuck off. Right? Not that I'm denying that COVID existed, by the way. Yeah, I don't know. And no one I knew really had a proper quarantine either. The third lockdown in the winter of 2021 was a bit sort of socially isolating, but that's only because it's winter. And it was just winter, but without work. So there was really nothing. It was like having your summer holidays. You know how you have your summer holidays when you're a kid in school, and it's like 2 months or whatever. And then say your best friend goes on holiday to another country. What the fuck do? You don't do anything. It was just like that, but in winter, so it was more miserable. That was it. And the ones I feel sorry for are the ones that are like in high school and were doing their GCSEs during COVID. What's the American equivalent of GCSEs? Is it like A levels or something? What's their version of a GCSE? The big exam that they bang on about at the end of SATs. Yeah. So the kids in America that are doing their SATs during COVID, I feel really sorry for them. I feel sorry for anyone doing that kind of shit. I feel sorry for people that were essential workers, right? Some of them obviously were, but like people in McDonald's, that's not an essential worker, right? Why is McDonald's staying open? It's ridiculous. Why are like alcohol stores staying open? You don't. Obviously, I get that alcoholics withdraw, right? Petrol stations, they're essential, right? Because you need those for trade and stuff, because you need to get, cargo and fucking trucks and stuff. Truckers need to get around and they need fuel. And those places, I'm presuming petrol stations in America sell alcohol, right? I've seen American movies, they look like they would sell alcohol. So just keep them open and shut the alcohol shops, right? So essential workers. But anyway, I feel sorry for all the people that had to work during this, because like I knew a few people, like I knew a few doctors and what's the one below doctor? Not nurse, but like junior doctors or whatever, who had like come out of uni and they've been studying for like 8 years at uni. And they first got into their job during the middle of the pandemic, right? They were fucking miserable. I met one at a party and it was like his only day off that he had for like a fucking year, right? And he just sat and he just chain smoked joint after joint after joint, because he's got to pack all of his leisure time and all of his escapism into like the course of like 7 hours. And then he was casually like to me, he was Polish, so he like they're hardcore, right? He looked over at me, he was like, yeah, I got to be up at like 3 a.m. And like it's like 11 p.m. at this point. And this man has had like 10 fucking Snoop Dogg level joints. And he's just looking at it. I don't know how I'm gonna do work tomorrow though. Right? But you know what? This is what I'm talking about with the social collapse, right? all of this stuff's still going on. And I bet loads of people have similar kind of experiences, right? I hope none of this sounds like I'm some kind of like right-wing COVID denier. I'm vaccinated, right? All that stuff, and vaccines are good, right? All of that stuff, right? But it was just the whole like, I don't like being told what to do, really. Like, like, for instance, when I was a kid, I was a teenager, I'd be doing my cooking, right? And then my mum would come in, and I'm leaving like pots and shit by the sink that I'm about to wash up, right? I'm gonna do the washing up whilst the thing is in the oven, right? So these things are coming up, and I'm getting ready, and I'm kind of looking forward to doing the washing up, right? Because I'm gonna have the radio on, I'm gonna be listening to some stuff, and it's a nice soothing thing with the hot water, right? I'm looking forward to it at this point, right? Mum comes in, and she is literally like, wash the dishes. Just the second she says that, I don't want to wash the dishes anymore. You know, even if I was sort of like I still had to, I still did, but suddenly I didn't want to anymore. And I presume that's a common thing, that you tell someone to do something and they kind of want to do the opposite. You sound lefty, to be honest, from an American POV. To be honest, anyone that's not American is basically a lefty, because the American idea of the political spectrum is so skewed to the right, where their Democrats are like our conservatives, when really you should be thinking of the conservatives as like the Republicans, but the conservatives are more like the Democrats. It's ridiculous. What's thermodynamic collapse? Golden TV3. Because I've never heard that term. I'm going to look it up. It sounds sciencey. In my country, we were fined 10k of our currency, hefty amount, if you were out after curfew, 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. The only hours. Okay, so it's like entropy. So essentially, it's static. What's the... Oh, have any of you read The Vril? It's a book. It's one of the first sci-fi books ever written. It's by the guy who did It Was a Dark, Stormy Night. And apparently that's like a really famous quote from a book, because it's a really terrible opening phrase to a novel. I don't see what's wrong with it. It's a dark, stormy night. Tells you exactly what you need to know, right? I don't have to interpret anything there, but maybe they don't like that. But let's say, but anyway, so Vril is written by the same lad who did that. So famous author, and this is pretty much one of the first modern science fiction bits of literature ever. There's also darker elements to it, where in the real world, where I think this was part of the inspiration for what's the fucking essay that is the one that legitimizes the Nazi ideology in some kind of like, here's what the Jews actually are. I can't even fucking remember. And the way that I've just described that is really bad. 1903 essay about Jews. The Protocols of the Elders of Zion, right? This book inspired that, which inspired the Nazis, right? So bad trajectory, right? So I thought this book was quite interesting in the sense that it caused a lot in the butterfly effect. But I don't think the book itself is inherently political. Maybe there's political stuff that I didn't notice about it. But the idea of it is, there's this lad who's in France, and he goes into a cave, and he gets to the bottom of the cave, and there's like this ancient species that have been living there for millennia, right? And like 5,000 years ago, this real kind, they thought, right, we've done everything we need to do. Let's pack it in with the development. Let's pack it in with progress. Let's just put the marker here. We're done, right? And we'll just live, right? And so, whatever the character was, he's wandering around this world, this cave society, looking at stuff, going, "You guys haven't made a painting or a bit of art for like 4,000 years. Are you not bored?" And they're like, "No, we've got all the fantastic art we could ever need. Everything we could possibly do and achieve has been achieved. So what else is there to do in the hunt for needless entertainment, essentially. Like, exploration just became the equivalent of, like, you know, browsing fucking TikTok for them, right? All of exploration in terms of scientific advancement or artistic endeavors, it was just the equivalent of just scrolling, right, for them. And I thought that was quite interesting. In terms of what you're talking about with this political thermodynamic collapse, I think that that's quite similar along those lines. And the point of the book, I think, is to kind of show. Actually, I don't think there is a point to the book, because there's one point in this book, right? It's so fucking dumb, where some vril kind gives the main character a watch, right? And the character looks at this watch and he's like, this is a nice watch. And then in brackets, he's like, when I got out of the cave, I showed this watch to someone and they said, wow, this is a really weird watch. I've never seen this before. Why the fuck are you telling us that? All you've done there is just confirm that the main character survives the entire thing, that there's no threat or stakes to the rest of the story. Imagine halfway through a movie, there's just like a pop-up, right? And it's just Brie Larson in a bathtub, right? Like in that fucking film about the stock market collapse. And it's just like, don't worry, guys. I know there's an action scene going on, but don't worry about it. They survive, right? So I want to watch fucking Aquaman. I watched Aquaman just to take the piss out of it. And then it got to the end, and like the final villain, he's standing on a boat and he's like, Aquaman, I'm going to defeat you. And Aquaman's like, nah, not if I defeat you first. And then they like move towards each other and a fist goes, and I just went like that. Skip. Because I know exactly what's going to happen. I'm going to skip 5 minutes of them just doing that, right? And then there's just going to be a few shots of the villain lying on the floor like that, going, I don't regret anything that I did. And Aquaman's going to be like, yeah, cool story, blast him. Or if he's like, you know, I don't know what Aquaman is, but if he's one that doesn't kill, he won't kill him. If he does kill him, then he does, right? It doesn't matter. It's like that. All of exploration for the vril was basically like that. I don't know. It's some bug thing, isn't it, in Aquaman? I literally don't give a shit about any superheroes, so I don't know what the villain is. Just lost 1,000 subscribers from saying that. Villain. Black Mantra. He's some fucking bug thing who shoots lasers out of his hands. Yeah, the metaphor is essentially that everything is pointless, right? Say if I watched a superhero movie for the first time and the idea of a superhero movie was novel, right? And I got to that action scene, I might be engaged slightly, right? Because I don't know what's going to happen. But there's been a million of these fucking movies that all do the same shit with a different like coat of paint on the fucking main character, right? And it's the exact same bullshit with the same structure, right? And I don't care about any of it, right? But the first one, if I watched one superhero movie and it was a really good one, I would be engaged in that fight scene, right? So these vril have basically done the equivalent of already making the entire Marvel universe or whatever. They've done everything. They've done every variation. Suggest a film. Ooh, what did I watch recently? I watched Interview with a Vampire. I like that. That was quite fun. I do think there could have been more in the modern day, like, because the whole interview structure of it, because the way it's structured is there's an interview with a vampire and the vampire is telling his life story and it cuts back to the past and it's all and there's like voiceover telling you what's going on, right? And then occasionally it will cut back to the modern day. I liked the modern day stuff, but it would only cut back to it for like 10 seconds and it would go straight back to the past. I was like, can we stay in the present day for like 5 minutes and then go back, right? Because to be honest, I don't love historical stuff. It's neat. It's just not for me. I also feel like it could have done with like my favorite bit of the film is the bit where it's like, and then I finally got to see a sunrise again through the visualization of film, and he watches sunrises in the cinema, and then it's like, and then we got Technicolor, and then we got HD or whatever, and it's like the sunsets were getting more and more vivid, and the colors were unlocking for me, and I thought that's a really incredible idea of using history as an emotional tool. That was really cool. What else have I seen? Oh, there's one called I think it's called Full Moon, right? I think it's called Full Moon, and basically it's an airplane. What do you want to do with your life? Because you have so much energy, but it feels like you don't know where to direct it. And then underneath that, what do you think of the Minecraft movie? The perfect parallels between absolute in-depth existentialism and just pure escapism. I'm going to do the pure escapism one first, and then I'll get to the harder question, right? So the Minecraft movie. I liked nothing about it, right? I never watched it. I didn't even see the trailer. I went outside my fucking house, right, to put the bins out, right? Do you know what I see? There's two, like, 13-year-olds on a Lime bike, and they're both wearing Steve masks, right? And the guy's riding the bike is just like, I am Steve. I am Steve. Right? The one in the back, he's got his Minecraft mask on his fucking head. Right? So he's not even wearing it properly. Put the fucking mask on. So that's what I think of the Minecraft movie. That's all I know about it. And I know that Jack Black apparently will, like, look at a fucking sheep and be like, this is a sheep. Or something like that. That sounded more like fucking Dumbledore. What do you want to do with your life? Because you have so much energy, but it feels like you don't know where to direct it. What I want to do with my life is I want to garner the resources that I need to take care of the people that I care about. I want to eventually get some kind of living, like, own a house, like get a mortgage or something like that. Love the idea of having a couple kids or whatever, and leaving some kind of creative legacy, and raising those children as best I can to have the creative will to make their own pieces of art engagement. Like my mate, John, he makes films and stuff, right? And he's got a kid who made a short film. And I just think, imagine how satisfying that must feel for something that you made is now making other things. I just think that's fucking beautiful, man. So yeah, that's basically what I want. I want to, yeah, essentially just do the standard, get married, have some kids, get a house, love my family, provide for them, and I think that's where I've got all this energy from. Doing all these YouTube things. I mean, because basically my job is to be an entertainer, isn't it? So that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to entertain you. And also, I'm fairly sure I'm ADD. I know it's ADHD now, but I don't think I've got the hyperactivity bit, which is the H. And when I was like a kid, and when they were doing, I don't think I ever got diagnosed, but when I went to the doctors and they sort of said he might have this, to my parents, they were saying ADD at the time, right? So yeah, that's what I want to do. Try and earn enough money. I want to get as many income streams as I can. So that's why I started like the YouTube Shorts channel, which is just the Johnny Mozza videos, but just like shitted out in short form. I just thought if that could get monetized, even if that makes like £10 a month, that's your phone bill covered. Whatever, that I could do that. That'd be neat. Yeah, I agree with your totes cereal. I'm going to read what it said. What if I told you you are too late on your creative dream, but if you worked a corporate gig to earn the money, to get the money to support a family, then you could build your life, build your dream? Yeah, I do. I mean, I did more corporate stuff like this time last year, but I need to get back into it. Right? I need to, I need to what's the word? What's the fucking word? Consolidate. There we are. I need to consolidate my portfolio a bit more. And so what I want to do is make maybe even a new channel on a website and all that sort of stuff to even prison. Burzum made fucking 2 albums in prison. I think they're some of his best ones. Have you ever? This is Yusuf Menyawi. Have you ever dig deep into religions and faith? Basically, a unified message of worshiping one creator, and we are the creation. I was having a chat with my friend yesterday about this, and I think let's take the Abrahamic religions, right? Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, right? I think that there are a lot of good ideas in there. For instance, one that we came up with, that I came up with, sorry, was in Islam, there is this idea that humans are born with Allah, essentially, right? And from there, people can lose their faith in various ways, right? And then be stripped away from Allah, and the goal of life is to essentially find your way back. So let's strip that down and break that down. Let's remove the context of the Quran and what Allah is as an all-powerful creator, and let's remove all of the mythology behind stories like Tales of Muhammad and all this sort of stuff, right? Let's break it down to exactly what that means. Because take a child that has just come into this world, right? They have innocence. They don't know what's going on. They don't know the world around them. They don't know all the horrors of war, right? All that sort of stuff, right? Because you think quite in depth, and I'm sure if you really understand Islam, think, oh, don't get me wrong, I don't understand Islam at all. Right? This is the best you're gonna get. Why are there so many people that want to free Puff Daddy? Trying to get rid of him. Fuck it. Yeah, so the idea is you can essentially retranslate the idea of being born of Allah as being born innocent, right? And that's only if you strip away the mythology and the ideology, not necessarily the ideology, but I guess the writings of the Quran, right? You can take all of that away and keep the idea of being born with, because Christianity is a perfect example of the opposite. In Christianity, people are born with original sin because of Adam and Eve, right? So people are born with this original sin, and it is up to people to find God. Now, I don't like that idea that basically people are born flawed, right? That people are born with this idea of sin and that they are going to go to hell forever, right? And I think that whilst there are good ideas in terms of, because me and my friend, we were talking about objective morality, particularly in Nietzsche, right, which I'm not a philosopher, I don't understand this stuff, and he was just getting into reading Nietzsche, and he says like it's quite difficult to pass what he's saying. So we were trying best we could to convey our ideas to one another. And essentially, the idea of objective and subjective morality, you know how, for instance, Ricky Gervais or whatever these bollocks, the amazing atheist type people, right? They'll be like, Christians always say to me that, oh, yeah, why aren't you going around killing people? And it's like, I don't want to kill people, right? Because I don't want to do that, right? But at the same time, the idea that killing people and has been linked to the commandments and calls from God to do certain things and to obey this power structure that has these rules has influenced the world even to this day, right? In ways that we can't even understand because it's all not necessarily subtle, but so subconscious, right? And yeah, it was just interesting that essentially. Yusuf says, I would like to say that I know a lot of Islam and I love to speak more and break down why Islam makes sense. It is a continuation of the Abrahamic religions. No, Islam is just as corrupt as all the others, right? All of them are shit. All of them are terrible power structures that are designed to brainwash the populace, right? If you get a big group of people together, all convinced of a certain thing, you can convince yourselves that you are so right that everyone else needs to convert to what you believe, right? Religion should not be unified like this. When I say I dislike organized religion, for instance, I don't dislike the religious part of that. I think that people should have their own beliefs. I've got my own beliefs, right? I dislike the organized part. I dislike the spreading of a religion, right? This is why I've not made a video about my religious beliefs and my faith, right? Because I don't know if I would call myself a pagan. I don't, for instance, believe in the pagan gods. I think if we were to live in like 500 years ago, I would definitely be called a pagan for the way that I think. But I see it more as like a sun, the moon, the earth as kind of like three sides of a coin. They can represent things, and the ideas of you can what's the word, personify nature essentially and create stories that can be comforting. And a lot of these things have value in comfort, right? I dislike the spread of singular unified ideologies, right? So please don't tear down Islam. I know how possible to use religion. I know, I appreciate that. And the thing that I just dislike about organized, and it also goes for other big religions as well, right? But for instance, tits are ass, praise God. Sometimes you get a comment and it just completely interrupts your train of thought. I don't know how some streamers do this. That's what I believe God is, a personification of logos. Yeah, but kind of more. I think that all of these things are stories, for instance. All, mythologies and the various gods, right? I have more alignment with the idea of the Norse gods, and but then I don't know much about them. I just sort of lean that way rather than say God, Allah, Yahweh, right over here. I lean more towards the multi-deity kind of way of thinking, where essentially you have these deities that can help you to explain concepts. And it was essentially a way of just working out the world. And I think having a singular universal entity that is the core, I think it's too centralized. I think religion and thinking should not be centralized because it encourages all of us to think alike, right? Since me and Yusuf have a different ideology and we're having a what's the word? A nice disagreement about religion, right? But I think it's good that we have that. I don't think the ultimate form of humanity is one where we all have a similar mode of thinking. I think the diversity in trains of thought is what makes us so unique as a species and what makes us powerful as a species, right? Hey up. If I met you in the real world, I would have thought you would be an absurdist. I don't know what an absurdist means in this concept. Is it basically what it sounds like? Absurdism is a philosophical perspective that recognizes the inherent conflict between humanity's desire for meaning and the seemingly meaningless nature of the universe. Oh yeah, definitely. Designating or holding the belief that human existence is absurd, irrational, meaningless, etc., relating or associated with the theatre of the absurd. Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, the search for meaning is inevitably pointless because I don't believe that meaning was implemented into nature, by which I mean the entire universe. Only thing that meaning has been implemented into essentially would be art and things that we have made, right, for a purpose, right? And I believe there's a very wide definition of art. Like, for instance, I believe that beavers making a dam is a form of art, right? I don't necessarily know exactly what they're saying, but then like cave paintings are art, right? It's just some scratches and bits of like dust on a wall, right? Art isn't about how convoluted it is or how, how intelligent it is. It's about making something for a reason with some kind of statement. And nature, I don't think has the capability to do that. And I think I have a guess, and I would love some of the religious people to put in the comments. In nature, do you think that there is some kind of meaning in the way that we might be the god of our creative output, right? For instance, I don't know, a musician is the director of the song that they make, right? is that comparable to God making the world? Beavers are content creators, not artists. And bruh, once you start looking for the art of things, it's a game changer. I mean, certainly, say you look at a leaf and you see the fractal thing where it's like infinite stems coming off of one another, and the inherent beauty of patterns like what's the fucking spiral one? You have all those kind of things, and the way that numbers and patterns are laid out throughout the world and the universe in general is fascinating. The golden ratio is the one I meant. Yeah, all of this stuff is incredibly beautiful, right? But I think to search for meaning within it is ultimately pointless. All you can search for is the feeling that it evokes in you and how it makes you feel. For us, there is no benefit if you join Islam or not. You live your own life. When you take the last breath in your soul, or whatever you believe, that's where we say it matters to recognize the truth. I'm sorry, I don't quite understand. When you take the last breath and your soul, that's where we say it matters to recognize the truth. As in, like, when you're on your deathbed. Because, I don't know, I would agree. Because I think it's important to try and complete. See, I did a video about death, and I didn't upload it because I thought it's a bit dark, and I also thought, yeah, it had like a 10-minute section on stuff that I can't talk about on YouTube, really. So I didn't put it out there. But in terms of death, there is this idea that you kind of want to complete everything, right? So I do find it very interesting, the idea of trying to complete everything first, before you take that final dying breath. But at the same time, it's again searching for meaning in nature, and I think that it can be very difficult to do that, because I don't think that there is, for instance, say a film, right, and you search for meaning in a film, there is some objective meaning that comes from the creator of that piece. I don't think that applies to nature. I don't think that there is a singular meaning that can be divined from that, other than this is how that thing works in a scientific way. Toad Cereal, thank you very much for joining. Lovely to have you on board. You're the first person that's ever become a member through one of these live streams, so thank you very much. Must be doing something, right? And religion teaches to spread the word to others is something that I have complex feelings about. My friend that I met yesterday and had a chat with, he's a pagan. He sometimes goes to these pagan, are they like pagan rituals? Basically, you go to the woods and like you sit and you kind of have a chat, and like I think they do a little bonfire thing, and they, you know, worship their gods and stuff like that. I don't know exactly how it works, but the way that paganism kind of comes together, it's not quite as unified, right? Because different people have different perspectives, because a lot of modern paganism is trying to bring back old mythology from thousands and thousands of years ago that hasn't been nearly as well documented through time, because the pagans were persecuted people, right? Because Christianity and Islam were the two big contenders that refused to allow any other trains of thought into the equation. So it's so hard now for these people to get a grasp on their past and their ancestry, and this is them trying to get back to it. And so as a result, all these people are very they have individual, I would say, is a perfect term. Hustle is my last hustle, like it's my last name. Individuality is the perfect way of describing it. They all have lovely, agreeable conversations, and they respect each other and they get on really well, right? But at the same time, they're not believing the exact same thing, right? And I think it's fun to spread your ideas, I think where we need to start thinking alike, right, is where I disagree. Like, for instance, with these videos, for instance, I love getting my ideas out there, and if people take them on board, they can take them on board, right? I would hate the idea of having to enforce my ideas onto people, right? Oh yeah, we were meant to be doing the future of the fucking UK. There's meant to be a politics one. Well, fuck, we didn't do that, did we, Mal? Oops. Oh. Breasts. There you are. You keep asking. There you are. There's your answer. I'm also a YouTuber, and I'm also a member on another account. Your videos have been an absolute lifeline. Thank you again. Thank you very much, Beneath the Headphones. Means a lot to be able to. And I've kind of enjoyed doing these live streams because they're more. I know I have a problem with audience interaction. I know I don't respond to as many comments as other channels that are my size and stuff like that. And I think this is a good way of having a good dialogue and getting to understand who these people are. Sorry, who you people are. I really enjoy the interactions sort of thing. And to be honest, I think I've covered quite a lot in this, and this stream is getting on about 45 minutes now. I'm gonna close this one out. Oh yeah, should we do the UK having a future? Should we do the UK having a future? Right. It's more in my normal videos, totes. I don't do a good job of responding to people in my normal videos, like commenting. I respond to a couple comments, but the thing is, I get so many that it just becomes really difficult. Like, I feel like I'm not even responding to everyone properly in here, because I feel like me and Yusuf could have another like fucking hour-and-a-half conversation about religion, right? But there's only so many hours in the day. I've got a driving lesson soon, right? So I need to log off and think about that and get myself in the mindset for that. Then I've got to go to work and all these other things, right? And then at the same time, there's comments and doing more videos and stuff like that. So the reason I don't respond to more comments is because I feel like I could just fucking like thumbs up everyone, heart react everyone, go thanks for watching, man, blah 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 blah, right? But I would rather each comment that I give mean that I have taken that person's thought and really considered it and let it stuck with me, right? I'd rather do that than just try and respond to everyone. I'd rather respond to a few people and give them like an honest, earnest assessment of what they're saying and seriously give them my time and my thought process. We could, but if you could take anything out of our conversation is please, since you read books. I don't read books. I don't read books. Also, I read the first 3 pages of the Quran, and it was just Allah fucking telling me what to do. And after 3 pages of it, I was just like, fuck off. So I shut it, right? So I know I've just dismissed your religion, and I don't mean to do that in a negative way, but I don't have any time for the Abrahamic religions personally, and I think that they're a blight on civilization. That's just 3% of the entire book is rules. You mean that? But that wasn't just the first bit. That after, I can't be doing with more and more rules, right? I don't read enough books, to be honest. I'm gonna be flat out with you, right? Obviously I know how to read, right? But like, I know people that can read an entire book in a day. I know people that say like 300 pages is a quick read. I just don't get that. To me, it takes me like 3 weeks to read like a 350-page book because I'm busy. I try and read on the bus, and then sometimes I'll get on the bus and I'll be like, I'm more in the mood for headphones really and listening to a bit of music, and I can't listen to music and read a book at the same time. Like, there's some people I know that read 2 books not at the same time, but they'll like be getting through 2 books in the same sort of span of time. I was thinking, how the fuck can you do that? It just, to me, my mind would be so scattered all over the place. I don't pretend to be any kind of intellectual or anything like that. I just like getting my thought process out in some kind of, I guess, arena, right? Because it helps you to understand your own thought process a lot better, right? And I often think that action works better than research because I'm not an academic person at all. So, yeah, I think we're going to close it out there. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. Oh, then find, simplify it. What's someone who read the entirety and summarized it? What's one answer? Like, look, this is the last thing we'll do, right? What's a good answer from Islam? I'm going to Google something, right? Tell me what I should Google that's Islam giving me an answer. That's like a good answer to something that will make me think. And I'll take what I get from this, right, and take it with me. Because I quite liked the idea of the everyone being born with Allah, but I'm using innocence in place of Allah, right? I like the idea of everyone being born with innocence and that being a good thing, and that people end up leaving that, right? And I don't actually massively care if I've misinterpreted the text and it means something else, because I think what belief should be about, right? Because I don't think any of this stuff is true. That's the key. I think that all of this stuff is subjective, and that what people's perception of it is the more interesting thing than what it originally was meant to be or what God meant by it, right? So I'd love to know what I could search that I could get some answer to me that might even make me reconsider what I just said, right? I want you to search for one random verse of the Quran. Let's do top 5 verses of the Quran. Johnny Moz's lessons in religion. Good luck beneath the headphones if you're driving lessons. It's very difficult to do. Because driving's a big thing. It's a big deal. You're so aware that you're like in control of this fucking 2-ton death machine, right? And like you drive past people and you just think, if I just turn the steering wheel, I could just fucking kill that guy, you know? It'd be so easy. You have so much power. Quran tier list. All right. So this is the top 10 Quran verses from the first Google result. The Islamic lantern. Let's have a look at that. Right? The Islamic lantern, because I want to do this in good faith. I don't want to just, you know, take the piss. So I'll watch his like most popular thing. Okay, that's just about confronting Muslims. I don't care. Oh, this is all debate stuff. Driving with someone who isn't your instructor is still very surreal to me. Yeah, I know. Like the car that my driving instructor uses doesn't have like a stick handbrake. It has this like weird like newer lever thing. So when I drove in stick, it was really like heavy, and I was thinking, how the fuck do like old grannies drive a car? Because I was struggling to move this gear stick. I presume it's that I was doing it wrong, right? And it's not actually that heavy. But I was looking at it like, this is really weird. This is all debate stuff, so I'm not going to have a look at this channel. I'm going to have a look at Takiyara, or however the hell I pronounce that. Takiya is the practice of, I'm not going to use the AI overview. I'm going to use Wikipedia. Is the practice of dissimulation and secrecy of religious belief and practice, primarily in Shia Islam. Generally, taqiyya is regarded as the act of maintaining secrecy or mystifying one's beliefs when one's life or property is threatened. The practice of concealing one's beliefs has existed since the early days of Islam. Early Muslims did so to avoid persecution or violence. The use of taqiyya, okay, I'm not fully understanding it. No worries, totes. Have a good one, yeah? Have a totes amazing day. Right, this is a Reddit thread, but I'm praying that there's just a basic, often accompanied with okay, that's just a joke. And the word is sometimes, oh, just give me something basic. So basically, it's like hiding your beliefs a little bit. Oh, please don't think Shia. So, are you a Sunni Muslim? Is that the thing? Because like it's like Catholicism and Protestantism, they're the same fucking thing, basically. The only difference is like slight interpretations of the text. Also, I always find it funny that in the UK, at least, there's this idea that you can't critique Islam. There's this idea that you can't make fun of Islam in any way, right? Or you'll immediately get like thrown under the bus, or you'll get assassinated or something. We've been doing it for like half an hour, right? And it's been fine. So that's what it's always been done. It's Christians you can't criticize, I find, because they're just so defensive. And to me, Christianity is just as bad as Islam. I think both are bad concepts that are harmful. Maybe in an individualistic way for you, they are useful, but as power structures, I dislike them. I'm trying to find. Look, I'm just going to go back to these 10 verses because I'm googling through different things, and like Shia's not right, so Sunni, I've got to do Sunni. So do they have different books, or is it just that's a stupid question, isn't it? Because it's just different interpretations of the text. All right. Number 1 is Allah reassured them, "Have no fear, I am with you, hearing and seeing." Would you call yourself agnostic or atheist? No, I don't know. I guess agnostic. Not that I believe in. Do I have to believe, like, or be unsure that there is one God? For instance, like the Christian Abrahamic ideal of God, Allah, Yahweh, I am 100% convinced is baloney, right? I don't think that that's true. I could change my mind, but at this present moment, there is no uncertainty, right? But the idea that there are many levels of spirituality or anything like that, I am uncertain of. So I don't know if that would count as agnostic. Like, for instance, the idea of reincarnation, I'm torn. It might be the case, and it might not. But yeah, with a singular monodeity God, I have no doubt in my mind at this present moment that there isn't one. Please see Omar Suleiman. Okay, I'll have a look at Omar Suleiman. Okay. So he's an Imam, Islamic scholar, and civil rights activist. Trying to find. We just believe that Jesus is a messenger and came to deliver the message of God, except people worshipped him. Gosh, why so certain? Well, because I think that it is more likely that throughout the entire history of the universe, are quite atheist agnostic if we're keen to keep drilling down on our labels. Yeah, I certainly lean more on the atheist side, because I think that a lot of the particularly monotheistic religions, that's the ones I have the biggest issue with, because I see them less as ideologies and more as power structures designed to keep the peasants down, right? It's, for instance, in the 1300s, when Martin Luther translated the Bible from Latin into German, they hated that. They were absolutely fucking disgusted by that. And then what happened right after that? The Renaissance, right? The whole idea of these Abrahamic religions, in my opinion, it's less about conveying the truth to people and more about indoctrinating people into submission so that we can maintain a power structure that only appeals to the upper echelons of society. I'm just having a quick read through the comments. Every god just feels so made up by some guys, or what man would think of. Aye, a little bit. I think a lot of the personifications of God, like take the Christian, Islamic Yahweh, Allah, God, right? And you know how generally you see an image of him in your head as like a big bloke with a big long grey beard, right, and white robes. That's kind of the general idea, right, that people imagine. That personification of God is a human invention, essentially, right? And that can be the same for Norse, Hindu, Greek, Roman gods, right? Say Jupiter, right? The personification of Jupiter and what people imagined when they thought of Jupiter is different to what, say, Jupiter is real as a god, right? Than what he, she, it, them is in reality. It might not even be a conscious living thing. It might be that these gods are instead some kind of spiritual forces of nature, right? Yeah, Charlie Hebdo was fucked. Right. Stuff like that doesn't help. But I'm trying to break away from the modern like tensions of it and talk more about the abstract concepts around these religions, because in 1,000 years we'll probably be having the same debate about religion, right? And Charlie Hebdo there'll be a different Charlie Hebdo back then. You know, it would be like talking about the Crusades if we were having this conversation in the 1300s, I suppose. I don't think that individual religious people are the problem. I don't think that your average Christian or Muslim or Jew or whatever, right, is an issue. The issue I have is the centralization of these religions. The beliefs are generally fine. There's a lot of great philosophy work that comes from all of these texts that could be applied in interesting ways. However, there's a lot of historical stuff in there sprinkled through that is designed to keep the lower echelons of society, the peasant class, down, right? I'm just trying to think of a good example for you. The institution of marriage, for instance. I want to just make sure before I start on this that it is something that comes from Christianity. I don't think it fully does, and I don't want to start a rant that's going to be stupid. So I want to just quickly back up what I'm about to say. So there is marriage and the ideas of marriage that predate the Abrahamic religions. But to me, the idea of two people coming together, the absolute monogamy part of it, is all implemented by these monotheistic religions, these Abrahamic religions, right? And I'm a monogamous now, right? And that comes back to our objective morality thing in terms of the Ricky Gervaises of the world saying, oh, I don't want to kill because I don't want to kill. So my ideologies are influenced by the thousands of years of these religions holding dominance over society, right? And a lot of the ideas behind monogamy are power structures. They're creating new power structures, right? And you want to have as large of a hierarchy as possible in order to, you know, I can't actually complete this train of thought. It's very abstract and I haven't fully developed it in my head, so I'm not going to continue to ramble. I feel like if I carry on, I'm just going to continue to ramble. It's an idea I've thought about, and I would love to, you know, come to some kind of conclusion, but I thought I was going to come to a conclusion there and I didn't. So yeah, sorry that one kind of fell apart. But yeah, I don't want to just say shit and just like, I feel like a lot of people would have just carried on, like not knowing what they're talking about, but would have carried on with some kind of confidence to just speak bullshit, right? And say it confidently. No, McDonald's fucking sucks. I like the spicy wrap, the spicy vegetable wrap. That's nice, but it's not great. It's only something I have if I'm desperate. Just gonna have one last look at the comments because I said I was gonna leave like 20 minutes ago. There's a lot of stuff that Yusuf is saying that is very good that I just don't have enough of an informed opinion on because, as I said, I've not read the Quran. I'm not a theologian or anything like that. I've come up with my own conclusions, and I think it's worth pointing out that I was raised irreligious, but I went to a religious school where we had to sing fucking songs about God and get taught like Christianity as if it was real, right? And that kind of clashed with my head, and so I didn't know what my own ideology was for the longest time. I knew it was not religion, but I didn't know what it was. And in a way, you're still learning that. You're still learning what's going to be happening with your own brain, your own mentality. Like, there's people that are new age Christians or whatever. What's the word? Newly converted Christians, people who went back to Christianity or convert to Christianity or convert to Islam or whatever in their 40s and 50s and 60s. So, it's not like you come to some kind of ideology and then that's it, done, no more thinking about it. When's the next video out? Let me have a look. I have them on schedule. Next one is it the 7th today? It's the 6th. The next one is called Setting Extremely Specific Goals for the Year. It's coming out on the 8th of May. And then after that, there's a Phineas King that's coming out the day after. And then there's one a day for a couple days. And yeah, that's it for now. I am kind of tempted because I like the Johnny Moz's Lessons in Confidence, but the issue is that now these videos have become associated with that title a lot more than the actual Johnny Mozer movie is with the character of Johnny Mozer, and I kind of like Johnny Moz's Lessons in Confidence as if this was a TV series, and I think that would be quite fun, but. Maybe I've already dedicated myself to the Johnny Mozer thing. I've done another couple videos in the Johnny Mozer world as I slowly work on this series more and more. And how am I going to launch the movie? That's not something I thought about. I am launching a feature film soon, though, which is called A Sheffield Psychedelic. Do you want a sneak preview? I think I could give you a sneak preview. Why is the channel name is Johnny Mozer, right? Because originally this channel was going to be a purely movie-related thing about that, and all of this philosophy shit kind of came around after the fact. Yeah, spit your toothpaste out. It's going to be a second because I need to get the video up. So originally it was going to be a marketing channel for the film, and then it kind of just carried on being talks. Originally, I did a couple talks just to talk about filmmaking, but then I did one about Central London. I didn't think anything was going to happen on it, and then it got really popular. And then I started doing more videos about topics I'm interested in, and they started doing really well. So that's kind of what ended up happening. And I've wondered, should I change the name of the channel to like Joshua Morrison? But I think, yeah, maybe. I'm not sure, to be honest. The branding is a little bit all over the place, and that's something else that I need to sort out. And I really don't know what to do with it. I think I could either have my real name, I could have I'd come up with some kind of name for this series. I thought about, because there's a few little, like, I've noticed a couple ticks that I seem to say, like, for instance, I finish a point, I'll kind of be like, and that kind of thing, right? I say that a lot. So I thought about branding this whole series of me going out into the woods and talking as and that kind of thing, and then each video is like an episode in a TV series. That could be all right, and I could just call this and that kind of thing, or whatever the series name would be. Have you spat your toothpaste out? Maybe. I mean, I'm doing these Phineas King things at the moment. I'm not filming them as they're released. That's such a generic name. Fair enough. I'm not great at coming up with names for things. That's kind of why I want to do Johnny Moz's Lessons in Confidence. I kind of want that to be Johnny Moz's Lessons in Confidence rather than what Johnny Moz's Lessons in Confidence actually is now, which is a film about this wannabe rock star who goes to these open mics and plays music and it's really terrible, and he's like a bit of an Alan Partridge type of character. Like, I could come up with another name for all of that. I mean, I don't even know if he's called Johnny Mozza in the series, so I could rename him, maybe. I don't know. Yeah, it's a. I don't know who Alex Mosey is. Yeah, it's confusing. The branding's a bit all over the place because this channel was meant to be like, you know how you might get a movie, and then they release like the trailer for the movie on the channel, and then they'll have like a few scenes and a couple interviews with the director or whatever. Well, that's what this channel was meant to be originally. Maybe I'll just keep it the same. We don't really have to do anything, do we? So this is a preview. I'm not going to act like this is like the best film ever or anything. But so this is I think we're slightly past rough cut. There's some sound bits that need doing, color grade, things like that. I don't know if you can see it. I hope Johnny Mozza hates littering as much as I do. Yeah, I'm not a fan of littering. Tipping, fly tipping, there's loads of that going on. I can't use this music, this is VOCs, but it's just temp music to give you an idea. And then I can't use this liquid light show either. I'm going to have to do something else. Okay. The thing is, if I change the landscape, it's going to fucking freak out. It says orientation locked. So it's freaking out at me for saying that, for moving it horizontally. How long do I have left on it? Well, I need to write out some notes for the editor because he's delivered me this cut and I really like the cut. There's just a couple changes left to make, really. And then I need to, I think he said he was going to color grade it, so we're going to get it back. And then I've gotten someone who's said that I can come into their studio and basically they'll do like a final like mix master essentially of the film. So all I need to do is I need to get the music sorted out. So I need to get music licenses figured out for the music that I want to do, because I don't really want to come up with a score myself. First, I'm not entirely sure why. I just don't want to do the score for this movie, right? Even though I know I could do one, I just don't want to. So I need to do some music licenses. I've got a few people in mind, and then I need to do the notes, give the notes back to him. I need to work on some behind-the-scenes content for the DVD. And then basically that's it. Then there's just the final touches, really. I would say it's 95% complete. Is the movie going to be on your YouTube channel? I think probably to begin with, yeah. And then once after, like, well, I want to release it on DVD. So it'll probably come out on DVD for a wee bit. I'm also going to chuck it on like every streaming thing that I possibly can, right? Because the more things it's on, the more like money I can make. All right. And then it will also be on YouTube. This movie is called A Sheffield Psychedelic. It's basically a coming of age story about this. Yeah, it's not the Johnny Mozza movie. This is a movie that I don't know. It was stuck in a bit of a development hell, and me trying to do the Johnny Mozza movie was me trying to get the love of filmmaking back, and it worked, but I didn't quite get to finish everything I needed to do with Johnny Mozza. So once I finished this, I need to go back to Johnny Mozza. But if I hadn't started the Johnny Mozza project, this would have been stuck in development hell forever. So it's only thanks to that I've been able to get this far with it. It's basically about this kid who's got a bit of a, traditional dad who's, very much keeps him inside and sheltered, right? And he doesn't have many friends or anything like that. And it's a coming of age story involving this local eccentric that basically picks him up. Sometimes like you're like an introvert and like some extrovert will just sort of adopt you essentially and just take you around and introduce you to stuff, right? That's happened with me loads of times, right? That's basically what this film is about. But the guy that is the eccentric is also like a bit of a piss taker. He does stuff like get the main character hooked on acid, right? So he has him doing a load of acid, right? And then he goes to meet this homeless guy who basically, I make a brief appearance. I have a cameo. I'm in a party scene, and basically the party scene is there's this homeless guy that this eccentric keeps like, anytime he meets this homeless guy, he just goes like, you motherfucker, why are you out here on the street? You're just a waste of space. You shouldn't be here. And then it turns out they have this long history that goes way back and they used to be good friends and then they just kind of fell out. But this is also just their chemistry. This is just, they are kind of friends. They chat and they go to the same parties and they know the same people, but they just have this chemistry where anytime they meet, they just like have a shouting match at one another. That kind of thing, right? So they have one of these shouting matches with the main character who's called Adam, and Adam is like whacked out on acid, right? So the homeless guy says, get him a taxi home, right? And you come with me and we'll just like go around and do stuff, right? And the eccentric is like, all right. So Adam goes home, ring of the doorbell, right? Ding, ding, right? He's hooked on acid. He's like, oh no. So he comes down the stairs all slowly, opens the door, right? It's this local eccentric, the homeless guy, and like 10 other people, right? And they all come in and they just forcefully put a house party in his house while he's tripped out on acid. And like, that bog standard plot point of the dad going away for a little bit and you're going to have a party. Basically, Adam has had this party forced on him, right? There's that kind of thing. So his house has just been invaded. It's basically a story about building up the courage to stand up to someone and to tell someone to fuck off is what it's about, right? And that's what this movie is about. Yeah, it's the party gate crashing a house. And, this eccentric who's called Nick, he has all of these like mad ideas for making money, which usually involve like, that's what that little robbery scene was earlier. Like they kind of rob people and try and get money out of it. And originally there was this whole like underworld fucking crime element of it. It's not a drugs are bad story because I'm not inherently a drugs are bad person, but the drugs are certainly not portrayed. It's not a pro-drugs film. It's also not an anti-drugs film. It's just a film that I think has drugs. I think it's more of an anti-dickhead film. How do you start making a film? I want to start making film too. Any tips for a guy with a crappy camera and zero skill? I would say start by making a load of garbage. Just make shit, like, and own the fact that it's fucking terrible, right? And don't try and make good stuff. Make garbage, right? And the more garbage you make, the less garbage it'll be. And the less garbage it becomes, it'll slowly start to become good stuff, right? You learn by doing, and you're only going to do garbage to begin with. You're never going to make your first thing as a masterpiece, right? So just be comfortable making this garbage, and eventually you'll start making good stuff. And every time you make something, don't have it like, this is like, I'm making it serious now. This is going to be the big one, right? Don't think in those sort of senses. Just make a load of garbage and make it quickly, because the quicker you make it, the faster you'll get through that garbage phase and the quicker you'll start making good stuff. And yeah, Jason Waterfalls has a good point with it, Andrew. Just get into it and meet people. Films are all connections. That was another good thing. We filmed this during the pandemic, right? And we also filmed it up north. So any actor cinematographer. We got like 20 grand worth of sound equipment, like proper sound equipment, right? And I only had to pay 250 quid for the insurance, right? If it hadn't been during COVID, I'd probably have to pay like 5 grand for all that. Fuck that, I'm not paying for that, right? So this film does have good audio. It has really good audio, right? It's not. We filmed it on a lot of different cameras, so there's a bit of an inconsistency with the overall style. So yeah, I got a sweet deal with that sound, and the sound guys are now working on fucking BBC Marvel movies. I think they did sound on like, what's the new Marvel movie? Like whatever it is, they've probably done it, right? And they're doing sound on that tier list. And they were doing sound on my film, and I kept saying to them, guys, why are you working on my fucking shit movie? You could be doing so much better than this. But yeah, it's Marvel slot, but you know, it's fucking hell good for their career. They are successful sound people, incredibly successful sound people. There's a few. Currently, this film's like 49 minutes, and I want to cut it down a bit more. Like, this is not a good-looking scene, in my opinion. I get what I'm trying to do; it just didn't work. It needs to be wider. I didn't have a wide lens doing this film. I had a 50 mil and 210 mil, and that was basically it. One guy had a Blackmagic on a gimbal, and he had a wide lens, and one guy had like a 35, right? So resources in terms of that aren't a massive problem. We weren't able to get the same jammy deal. All right. I'm gonna try and find my little cameo. Here I am. That's me. That's me. Show my fucking face. What's the fucking time? Okay. I don't know if you can see me. I'm literally right there. There I am. There I am. That's basically my my little thing. Right, I need to go because I need to do my driving lessons, and I want to kind of get. Oh, also, this is a really shit export. It's just an export so that I can watch it to take notes. Like, it's like 5 megabytes a second. It's not anything real. And then there's the live stream bitrate, which is probably fucked as well. But yeah, I need to get going because this has gone on way longer than I intended it to, and I need to get ready for my driving lessons. So thank you very much, everybody. Take care. Love you all. Bye-bye. And yeah, I hope to see you again in another one of these things. I promise I'm in it, Mum. They must have cut it before the premiere.